You should be able to now. Sorry, let me start again. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. My name is, of course, ImPERium, and I'm with your boy to my right, the one and only HighlandWolf, for this SNAKEsquad event.
Yeah, we are hitting up a little bit of something different here. Not the usual scrims that we usually cast together, but I'm prepared for three epic games nonetheless. And there's a really good set of teams. Some of them I'm recognizing, some I'm not too sure about. So it'll be interesting to see how all of these play against each other.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're dead right in the sense of there's some teams we do recommend. Recognize there's some teams we don't. But I think that's, for me at least as a caster, it's actually what I love, and it's sometimes what I thrive on, is the fact that I don't know about these teams. So there's a little bit of a blank canvas on how I'm going to think they're going to perform, right? Whereas if you take a team that's very well known, you're automatically thinking they're going to perform this way or do that. Whereas if it's an unknown entity, they can perform however they want, and then they'll be perceived from there. So this is definitely really exciting.
Yeah, and I also think with all of these new teams coming on board to these games this afternoon, we also have the potential for some serious upsets as well, right? You potentially then see some of these, what we say are the teams that we know, maybe the teams we expect to go far, don't do so well. They fall a little bit short, and then comes in these new teams to the top spots. He's getting these chicken dinners across these games, and I'll take us through all the teams just now. We've got
Go for it.
SNAKEsquad, Power Esports, Modern Combat 5, Jordanian Squad, Tribe of Kings, SNAP, KxQ Esports, Black Warriors, Insane, Super Power Esport IQ, Just for Revenge, WSNE Esports, Gamer2 Gamers, AR Esports, 46 Loot, KHK Esports, Team SK, the 963, the final team there. So a good series set of teams here coming into tonight's games, or this afternoon's games. It depends where you're coming from in Europe here, ImPERium.
Yeah, of course, we do have a couple of EMEA League teams now. SNAKEsquad, as far as I know, it's not their full. It's not their full EMEA League team. As clans can have, they can have multiple teams across, across the spectrum. So, it would be maybe their B team, but it could be, players who are learning from the EMEA League SNAKEsquad team, right? And it could be teams that are learning off each other. We also have 8R Esports in there as well. Again, another clan, another team who have a roster in the EMEA League. So it's definitely really exciting to see what kind of, what we're going to see in these games.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be super exciting here. Looks like I got actually kicked out the game, so we'll see exactly if I can get back in real quick. Yeah.
Did you have to? Did you get kicked?
Yeah,
when did you get kicked? Did you have the map downloaded?
Yeah, definitely got the map downloaded.
Oh, rip. This might have to be a little bit this might have to be a bit of a solo cast for game one, my friend. It might have to be, which is potentially a little bit of a shame. But we're going to be getting into game one in just a minute. Yeah, they were into the game, unfortunately, my friend. So it is going to be something that I'm going to have to do myself. I'll try and find out exactly what happened there. So it's a bit of a feels bad, man. Indeed, either way, we do see plane path is going north from the George Paul area over to Lipovka. But listen in, you can still take some notes at HighlandWolf, and I will do my best to make this as descriptive as possible for you and anybody else, of course, watching. Explain it to you, I will indeed. SNAKEsquad seems to be going towards the Zarki area, which isn't really bad considering, it's very north plane path. Dropping in Zarki, it's not too common, but it can make sense. You can rotate on the north of the river, past shooting range, past Averni. Of course, depending on where the phase on circle does go, but it seems like they're gonna have a little bit of a addition joining with them. That's gonna be Team 9. That's gonna be KxQ Esports. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. In towards the George Pool area, we have 8R Esports. We have side of Team 15, which is WSNE, and then we have Team 7, which is Tribe of Kings. Power Esports is going to be in Roshawk for now. You then, of course, have Team 20, which is Team SK. They're going to be going for a bit of a split drop between Yasnaya and even sending Wanted down on towards the field of Yasnaya. And I kind of like that. It does relatively make sense. Then a few teams are going to be dropping on towards the eastern/southeastern side of this map. Phase 1 circle in no way complements the playing path. It is a south, essentially military island circle. Now, the good thing is that most of the teams that did drop from the playing path did drop down south. So they are either inside the circle or close to the edge of the circle. But either way, those rotations are not going to be easy. I'm going to pan on over towards the Milta Power area as see Team 12. They're dropping late. Super Power Esports IQ. And then along with Elvar, they're going to be inside Milta Power, surrounded by a couple of members of Super IQ. But it's not going to be easy for Ibra, I'd tell you that much. He does have an M4, using that third-person perspective to possibly get a couple of bits of information. He knows that there's a few members around. He's going to go for those shots. He's not going to connect on all of them. He's going to get knocked down. That's going to be the end of one member of Super Power Esports, which is a bit of a feels bad man, but can be the case. Another member of their team was knocked down as well by this side of Team 10. That's Black Warriors. So he's going to put a lot of early pressure on towards Super Power Esports IQ. Side of Team 5, Modern Combat 5 are really kind of making the right strategy by potentially going over onto Military Island straight out. Because one thing that is kind of good about this playing path with this circle is that most teams should know that in the first 2-3 minutes there's going to be a limited to no amount of teams in Military Island. So rotating early on this circle to this playing path would be so much more beneficial. If you leave it too late, yeah, okay, the mainland is still in play and that can still come into phase 2, phase 3, but really, like, it's going to be so much more important that teams rotate relatively early to get that kind of core area inside Military Island. But we'll have to wait and see how that does play out. We've got a few teams between School and Roshawk, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Two gamers are going to be on that 2-1 split between School and Roshawk, which is a good spot to hold on to, and I do like that, especially when you're only starting as a 3-man team. It's a very central area where you're able to really kind of move and loot around from, of course. Powerful are sending a player forward inside the circle, MJRM, which is great scouting. Now, is he going too far away from the rest of his team? Yeah, potentially. But either way, okay. Sorry, just keeping an eye on the comments as well. But yeah, is MJRM going too far forward into the circle? Probably not, because like I said, with the playing path, with the circle, he's automatically getting information. Now, it is important that the rest of his team do follow suit very quickly, and Demon is a little bit slower to the cause, and he might get caught out. We'll have to wait and see how that does plan out. Now, another team are making their way across onto Military Island. That is Team 10, Black Warriors, pushing their way across on the Eastern Bridge. Do you see a player getting caught out? That's going to be a nice cheeky kill over and towards the side of Team 11. Insane. And because of all these rotations, I am generally expecting a little bit of a passive early game, right? Because teams will be taking their time to loot up. They'll also be thinking, how the hell do we make our way into the circle, right? How do we time our rotation? And that's something that tests a lot of teams, even the best teams around the world. Rotating into Military Island when it's this kind of circle to playing path situation is so difficult, especially if you don't have a lot of information on how the teams around you do rotate. Now, Team 17, 8R Esports, who landed in North George, along with the side of KxQ. They're getting a little bit closer to each other. And then you also have a player of a SNAKEsquad doing a little bit of a scouting. Jafar on foot, looking up towards the hills, going down onto North George. So him scouting, I think, is pretty valuable for his side, because they're on towards the most northern part. He gets a mini 14 shots, gets that clean knockdown on Dejano. That's going to be a confirmed kill. Nicely done by Jafar. And you know what? Now he's going to back up. He's going to get spotted. Is it going to be another knockdown? Yes, it is. Nicely done. Don't go too far forward or you're going to pay the price. He backs off. 2 kills for SNAKEsquad. 1 of each team. He's spreading the love, you would say. 1 victim of 8R Esports. 1 victim from KxQ, and SNAKEsquad will, of course, continue to take advantage. Will they fight this more aggressively? Yeah, they, in theory, can. Should they? I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that they're so far away from the circle that it kind of makes sense for them to... Oh, prof, be careful. That makes sense for them to maybe wait until Phase 2 pops up and then pop from there, but we'll have to wait and see. Just give me a little bit of a scope. You have a KxQ spread 1-1-1, maybe a bit too far away from each other. Ali of 8R Esports is definitely very pinched, because the second he moves away from that trader area, he's kind of out in the open road and he can only go a limited distance. Keed is in front of him. I don't know if AR Esports can really do much more. They should maybe leave Ali on his own, and that wouldn't be a bad play to pull out, because sometimes your teammate just can't be saved, right? Just cannot be saved. But now pan on back over towards the eastern side of this map. We see the coastline have a couple of teams fighting up against each other. That's going to be Team 21, the 963, losing 1 player right off the bat against Insane. Oh boy. Might be a different old boy, but I tell you what, at least he was strong enough to get that kill. But he does get knocked down in return. Nice M24 shots coming out from Alma, nearly connecting onto Insane. Bullet after bullet by the rest of his team. Looks to suppress the members of the 963. What can Denon do? DP28 is such a powerful part of the meta in the current PUBG Mobile spectrum that, you know, it's being used way more commonly. So looking at the teams that are inside the military island, we see KHK, we see Elvar, we've decided Modren Combat 5, we have a Super Power Esport, we have, of course, Powerful are right on top of that mountain. Then you have a Black Warrior inside the military base, and then you have, coming in from the west, we have Team 6, which is a Jordanian squad. Few boat rotations could be coming into the mix as well between the ferry pier area. Going to pan on over towards Team 15, which is WSNE Esports. As I said, they're on the ferry pier area. They're looking towards a bridge, maybe trying to get a bit of information. They're seeing the side of Tribe. Team 7, which is a Tribe of Kings. Sending Gangster forward, and I think that's a good call. Especially because they've kind of left it a little bit late. To kind of make that rotation into military base from where they stopped, so they are aware that it's a bit risky, but because a good few of the teams have gone on towards the eastern side of this military base as Phase 2 popped up, and it's definitely going to be a military base finish. Feels bad for you, HighlandWolf, that you're missing out on this hotbed of action. As a gamer to gamers coming across the bridge, they could be meeting their first stop point, their first checkpoint. KHK as the shots are coming through by A9Q. Well, of course, he's going to see another member of Gamer to Gamers. Shots are being fired. Nice knockdown by A9Q. Should really stop Gamer to Gamers in their tracks, although they're continuing to spray their way up. Actually, no. Yeah. Gamer to gamers, they're under a lot of pressure. KHK looking to follow up on this initial knockdown as Headshot is going to be stuck inside this building. Throws out a pre-grenade and another pre-grenade. Just try and stop the members of KHK in their tracks. Could that one connect? Nope, not quite. Of course, being aware that Gamers does have Leader in the other side. How are KHK going to play this one? They're up on top of the roof. They do not see Headshot. They have not found Headshot. He's on the balcony, boys and girls. He's on the balcony. Now he's being found. Third person perspective coming through. Pre-fire going to come up. And A9Q once again finds the knock on the Headshot. Confirm that kill. And Leader is left on his own. He's got nowhere to run. Nowhere to really hide. KHK can focus full sail on the sights of Gamer to Gamers. The only thing that might stop KHK is a potential kind of third party from Powerful, right? Up on top of that very big mountain area. You see Hellcore is raining those shots down with that M16. Just going to turn the volume down a little bit. I think the gunshots are a bit loud. Looking for Vatican. Not quite for now. Not quite for now. And then we also see on the south side, we see Lavar getting close to Team 6. Which is Jordanian squad going for the south coastal line position, which is unorthodox, and you're not expected to come across a couple of teams, but when a number of teams have that idea, right, they are most likely going to clash together. Tribal Kings are going to be more on the coastal side of that area, using the low ground rocks to move about and then peek and shoot toward the members of Jordanian squad. The pinch from Jordanian squad, either side of them, it's going to be a little bit harder, and we do lose Gamer to Gamers that run across the bridge. Like I talk about, when you leave it too late, it can become harder to deal with, and that's a little bit what has happened here for Gamer to Gamers as they go down. A couple of water slash boat rotations coming out from a few of these teams. You have the side of SK, then of course Team 11, which is Insane, and then Modern Combat 5 were already rotated in earlier on in Novo, and the Blue Zone is closing in. Then we have 8 Esports coming down south. They're going to clash up once again towards the members of Team A, which is Team 9, should I say, which is a KxQ. Knockdown coming through. Grosso trying to heal up. Grenade is not quite going to connect. He's going to be protected by that tree. As the members of KxQ just backing off because they realize they are under pressure by those grenades being fired up. Frown going forward. Supported by Devil. They do have that little bit of a supporting onto each other. Nice Molotov! Farang is going to burn down like a ring of fire. Key connects that lovely Molotov, and that's going to put more pressure on the 8 Esports. Devil is pretty much on his own because Ali is still in North George, right? He's still in North George. Okay, Ali. Yeah, okay. Cool. Cool story, bro. Cool story. So Devil is on his own. The good thing is that SNAKEsquad could third party this and maybe give a bit of a chance. But no, actually, SNAKEsquad are just opting to rotate across into Military Islands. Jafar is also way further back, still in towards the Gaka area. So yeah, again, Devil of 8 Esports is on his own. Looking on over, we see Powerful under pressure by KHK. Phase 3 has gone down south, so he's definitely towards the south side of his Military Island. Jordanian squad could have a bit of a position, but I like the fact that Tribe of Kings kind of recognized the circuit shift and gone, there's no point in us being on the south side, right? We're much better off being towards the center. Of course, where they occupy themselves on the center is going to be important, and they're opting to go for those underground bunkers, if I can call them that, which is harder because if you look, it's open area around each of those bunkers, so they're kind of committed to one bunker for now. If they can go for an even spread, that would be much more beneficial. Then looking on towards KHK, they're kind of staying in the open slash the high ground area that is again a little bit southwest of that big mountain held on towards by Powerful. We still have Modern Combat 5 yet to move out from the Novo area, which could be their undoing. And the WSNE Esports, should I say, have gone for that southern boat rotation to end up inside the military island. And there's plenty of space around. The SNAKEsquad, they're bridge camping. Assad looking for KxQ. Keita swimming inside the water. Becky's on the early parts of the bridge. And SNAKEsquad, as much as I respect the fact that they went for the bridge camp, they're only really kind of punishing their own position inside the circle, right? Because it's going to be a little bit harder for them. You do still have Prof and Jafar on the other side of the bridge, but now they're going to be stuck there. But at least Bexy, Keed is as we saw swimming in the water, but a lot of meds being utilized right now inside this blue zone as KxK are taking another couple of shots, I believe, on towards Powerful. So let's bring on over towards KHK. They've been consistently aggressive, but right now two of their members are knocked down. A9Q and Vatican are going to try and execute those revives on towards the entrance of military base on the eastern side of this map. Now Modern Combat 5 on the outskirts of the circle, recognizing that they have high ground information on towards Powerful. They get knocked down onto NJRM, confirm those kills with the spray of the M4. Job done. And Powerful are under a little bit more pressure on towards the high ground of the eastern part of the circle. They were focused onto KHK and a little bit caught out by Modern Combat 5. Gives a bit more space for Modern Combat 5 to now push their way into the circle. And then KHK under even more pressure by Tribe of Kings. Nice shots with the DP28 by Gangster. Then SK Last Hope on the WSNE. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Knock confirms that knockdown. Jordanian squad and WSNE are, of course, are engaging on each other on the outskirts of this circle. I am going to pan on over to there because there is a number of squads. You got SK, you got WSNE, you got Jordanian squad in play. We'll just wait for this to enter through. Don gets knocked down. Lord is trying to get the revives onto Rio. And then where is Chemic? Chemic is further back. He's looking for the mini 14 shots on the Last Hope. Not connecting all of them just yet. It maybe will suppress Last Hope to a point where WSNE can continue to get those revives. But I feel like this is really too much for WSNE to handle. They've kind of got nowhere to go. And all the while, Jordanian squad have been able to get out of there unscathed for now. As the circle closes in, we have Black Warriors on towards the southwest side of this circle, overlooking a number of these teams on the high ground. Jordanian squad have gotten into a small little shack underneath on the side of the road. And hey, look, it's not the full squad, but I like it, right? Because it's still further inside the circle ahead of a number of teams. The Tribe of Kings are able to knock down a member of Jordanian squad. Black Warriors pushing forward once again, staying on the southwest side. We still have 15 teams, 43 players inside this lobby, inside this circle. This is really nice military finish for these teams, and it really, there's so many kills available. Snap is going to lose one of their players to the blue zone. Black Warriors once again looking to pick up those kills and of course create that space around them. SNAKEsquad on the southwest side by the coastal line. Elvar are in front of them. On the low ground, Elvar trying to... Oh, they throw out the grenades. They know SNAKEsquad's there. Prof is under pressure. Maybe Assad can find his shots, and he does indeed. That's going to be a knockdown onto 3TB of Lavar. Revive is going to be pushed out, but I think that's a little bit of a third party from KHK. I think that is the case, and that's going to be the end of Lavar. Down they go. SNAKEsquad able to take advantage of that, but they realize that KHK are looking down in their distance. and they don't care who it is. They will find those bodies. They will find those shots as the circle does continue to go down on the southwest. So it's going to put a little bit more pressure on the teams like Modern Combat 5. You have Powerful as well. Even Snap under pressure, and we instantly lose a couple of teams. That's going to be WSNE Esports, and I said they were really kind of at the bottom of the barrel, and they kind of had nowhere to go on that coastal line. But now SNAKEsquad got rid of Elvar. Now they're looking for the side of SK. It's just going to be Suleiman, the last player standing, hugging to this coastal line for dear life. He will have to move in the next 17 seconds, as will SNAKEsquad. So they might be just leaving SK to get those revive off. To get that revive off, we'll have to wait and see. Still, Jordanian squad are inside the shack. That's relatively towards the center of the circle. And then Modern Combat 5 are going to be pushing in on towards the eastern side of this circle as a full squad. But will they be able to handle the pressure of KHK's? Oh my god! What the hell happened there? Oh boy, just goes out from Insane. A huge bike stunt does not go in their favor. Vatican was knocked down, so he's going to be taken out. So it's KHK with just 2 members up by the side of this road in this shack to their advantage. The grenades are going to go flying. Modern Combat, if there's ever a time to push onto a team, it was now with those grenades. Your shots are going to be flying through. And Moosh looks to pick up a smoke to try and create a little bit of space. Nice pre-fire shots from ANQ. Nice one from an A9. But he does get knocked down in return. That's going to be a noose. Going to be eliminated, but that's going to be a double knockdown on the Modern Combat 5. That's going to be end of KHK. They are eliminated in 9th place. 8 teams left, 23 players as the circle stays down on towards the southwest. High ground held onto by Black Warriors. There's a few trees around this area, but of course, if you're down on this low ground, Jordanian squad might have a bit of area to play around. But it all depends on what kind of information they have around them. Tribe of Kings, they're looking for Jordanian squad. 1 knockdown, but it's going to be returned right now as Jordanian squad are prepared to fight. And that's going to be the end of them. The revives will be pulled out, and Jordanian squad might even be able to keep, not quite as a full squad, but at least as a 3-man team. Nice one, Jordanian squad. They hold on towards this area up onto north part edge of the circle. In they go. Black Warriors, they hear the shots, they heard the shots, should I say. They see the bodies, they know Jordanian squad are there. The smoke wall might be thrown out by Jordanian squad. Few grenades thrown out on the side of the road. Should really connect onto the members of Jordanian squad, as Powerful are just going to be powerfully pushing towards the circle area, but there's so many teams around them. Modern Combat 5, Ambius going to be returned, knocked. That's going to be the end of them, and even though one of their players got taken out, Modern Combat 5 will stay in this game as a 2-man team. SNAKEsquad, it might not be the EMEA League roster SNAKEsquad, but they're certainly in the sidelines to take this chicken dinner, but it's not going to be before them eliminating or getting the better of Black Warriors, and they kick things off. Mario with a clean knockdown on the damage. The damage has been done. It's the start of the battle, but who will win the war between these 2 teams? Still other 3 teams inside this game. Modern Combat 5, you got SK, and you got Jordanian squad. Maybe Black Warriors not taking down Jordanian squad in time will be the death of Black Warriors. They could get swiped out from behind, as Hamodi is going to be making his way up. You've also got Reg, you got Bonjour, Konnichiwa. They're waiting for the blue zone to start closing in. They shouldn't really wait, to be perfectly honest. They need to be proactive on their position. They need to put pressure onto Black Warriors. Black Warriors are inside the dip of the circle, surrounded by trees. But they are, of course, under potential fire from a few grenades. Prof snaking his way forward, living up to his team name. 4 teams left standing. Black Warriors, SNAKEsquad, Jordanian squad, and Modern Combat 5. 12 players left up. Got a full squad of Black Warriors. Damage once again gets knocked by a grenade. Another one being cooked up. On the edge of the circle they go. Reg indeed knocks down Zappa, and the third party is going to be flying on through. Modern combat, putting pressure on the SNAKEsquad. They trade knocks, but Assad is able to hold on the edge dip of this hill. As Prof is doing everything he can to suppress the members of Black Warriors. Jordanian squad coming up from the shot, coming up from the road, coming up the hill. Could swipe this chicken dinner with a clean fourth party. Black Warriors now down to just one player, Ustora, but he gets knocked out by Prof of SNAKEsquad. That is the end of Black Warrior. Fire of Modern Combat 5. Chucks up a grenade. It's a clean connection onto Sad. Bob Zoronko, Fanny Zerant, that is going to be looking for a confirmation, and it is going to be 3v1v1. The team that were under pressure on the shack that made a bold, wild rotation in phase 3 or phase 4, and now setting themselves up for this chicken dinner. Game 1 of the SNAKEsquad event. Jordanian squad finds it. That's going to be the end. Hamodi gets the final blow, and we see Game 1 going over to Jordanian squad.
What an epic side of the game by the time I can't watch it until the next couple of minutes, but definitely that 3 versus 1 versus 1 I'll be sure to have a look at between the games here. Honestly, the whole game I've been watching, I've been by some of the positionings, particularly wasn't an easy zone either. ImPERium, I think. Just by the looks of how it rotated outside of the military base, you still had the coastline there, which really affected the terrain, I think, moving into those final zones, where you really had quite sharp dips. You had really big kind of gaps coming down into the hillsides along the edge of that coastline, which kind of favored, I think, some of these teams hanging on the edge of the zone, hanging on that high ground.
It did impress me with the amount of teams that did recognize what I said in terms of the plane path being north, and with it being a military island, that you're like a 99% certain that nobody's going to be inside military island to begin with. So we did see a good 5 or 6 teams go into military island early on in phase 1, but it was that hovering point between phase 1 and phase 2 where a couple of teams kind of went for that bridge rotation too late into phase 1 and too early into phase 2, where they got caught out. And then we did see a couple of teams, kind of SNAKEsquad, hey, credit where it's due, they left. They were one of the latest teams to make their way into military island, but because they did it on the western bridge, which was kind of less it was less cluttered, it meant that that they had kind of more space and area to kind of rotate, and a little bit more freedom around that.
Yeah, I think also looking particularly, I really like the positioning going into some of those final zones, particularly from KHK, which I was able to kind of peek towards the end there, hanging on there at the edge with the vehicle, also having the high ground advantage and actually letting the other teams fight. There were teams stuck there along the coastal line. It was quite comical in a way to actually see them kind of hanging on almost 90-degree vertical cliff faces. And they got flushed out. And I think it was more about positioning, which is something we don't usually get to see as much in Erangle versus some other maps. So this might be a little bit of foreshadowing for especially going into Miramar for game number 2.
Yeah, no, definitely, really, genuinely, I'm actually relatively impressed with how some of these teams played. Like, obviously, Black Warriors really lost an opportunity to claim this win because they didn't take out Jordanian squad. They knew Jordanian squad were behind them. They knew, like, there was this situation where, and I know you couldn't see it, but there's this situation where, and you talk about kind of the harsh hills in the heart. It was like the side of the road, okay, there was a shack. Jordanian squad had taken a fight against Tribal Kings. Black Warriors knew that they were there. Black Warriors were on that, on top of the hill that was a harsh hillside, okay? They knew that Jordanian squad were down in that shack. They didn't take them out. Which, I get that they were focused on being inside the circle. That was great. But if you don't eliminate the opponents behind you, what's going to happen? They're going to come up and they're going to take you out. Right. That's exactly what Jordanian squad did, and it was really kind of Black Warriors undoing because they didn't take out Jordanian's squad. There was just too much around them, and they ended up getting picked off one by one.
Yeah, and I think that is more about the awareness, especially coming into the final game. There were parts of that game where teams in the edge of the zone, they still had to take care of potentially several different teams behind them. And I think that's what these teams need to be aware of, especially moving into Miramar, where you will have that harsh terrain at the high and the low ground. There could be teams behind you, and they can very easily, because of the cover that the hills may be providing in certain areas in the map, sneak up behind you and be that obnoxious third party that you really don't want towards the end stage of the game.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll just throw out the results of this game. So Jordanian squad coming out in first with 6 kills. You had Modren Combat 5 in second with 11 kills. You had SNAKEsquad in third with 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kills. You had Black Warriors in fourth with 5 kills. You had SK in fifth with 3 kills. You had Powerful in sixth with 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 kills. You had Snap in 7th with 1 kill. You had Tribe of Kings in 8th with 1 kill. You had KHK in 9th with 3 kills. You had Insane in 10th with 2 kills. You had WSNE Esports in 11th with 1 kill. 8R Esports in 12th with 2 kills. You had Lavar in 13th with 1 kill. You had KQX in 14th with 1 kill. You had T963 in 15th with 2 kills. You had Superpower Esports in 16th with 2 kills. And you had Game 2 Gamers in 17th with 0 kills. So on that note, we are going to go for a quick break for a couple of minutes. But we will be back on your screens in all of about 3 minutes for Game 2 of this SNAKEsquad event. Don't go away. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys in a few. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the SNAKEsquad event. My name is ImPERium. Thank you very much for tuning in and supporting the stream, supporting the teams. And I'm with the one and only wonderful HighlandWolf. Hopefully, no issues to be had for this game too, and you'll be able to cast this awesome game that we'll have in front of us.
Yeah, I'm hoping they're all behind me and we can now, with what I've tried to do while watching the epic action last game, that we can get straight into some Miramar action and really, for me, get to see these teams now in action as they battle it out for their second game. And I think, looking, of course, the eyes are all on Jordanian squad, right? As that chicken dinner winner in game number 1. And it'll be interesting to see how they transfer their skills that they showed us in game number 1.
Yeah.
What I feel Miramar is a completely different style of game.
True.
We did have a sort of a dimension in terms of positioning, in terms of the terrain in game number 1, but much more prominent and going to be much more required to have that skill and knowledge of the terrain that you're moving about.
True.
Over in Miramar.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest differences, because you are right that the terrain at the end of that game 1 or towards the end of that game 1 was a little bit similar to what we could see and what we do see in Miramar, but I think the biggest difference is that there's much less protection around those areas in Miramar, right? There's no trees really. There, you got more of an open area, and you are kind of relying on those dips as opposed to being behind those trees or being behind those rocks. So yeah, you are dead right. It is definitely going to be a tougher task, a tougher ask for these teams. But like I said, I was impressed with multiple rotations in that game 1, and Miramar is a very rotational heavy map. So I'm pretty excited. I do think a lot of teams, if they kind of carry that similar mentality, attitude of their rotations, based on the circle, the playing path, then we could see, once again, a very similar game in the sense of we had 14, 15 teams left in Phase 4 or Phase 5. I wasn't really expecting that.
Yeah, I think that actually the level in terms of the patience and more decision making on the positioning, I guess, if you like, of these teams is more prominent than what we were expecting. I think, especially as you mentioned, it is going to be less trees, there's going to be less rocks, less cover, and that particularly also lends itself to the long-range style of fighting that we like to sometimes see on Miramar as well. So we could see some of these teams like KHK, who prefer to sit on the edge of the zone, have an easier time in this game too.
And, for a team like Powerful, who, they were one of the first teams, if not the first team, to rotate into Military Island, and that was great where they rotated and how they rotated, but it felt like they relied on the high ground position too much in the next 3 or 4 phases, whereas they didn't proactively think, oh wait, we could get pinched and stuck on this high ground area the longer the game goes on, because teams are going to be rotating around us. So that's something that Powerful maybe need to learn to adapt, or again, we can only go based on what we see. So based on what we've seen or what I've seen, I think they should learn to be a bit more proactive once they do get into a strong position in the circle.
Yeah, and we're also expecting a little bit better performance as well from the likes of, for example, Gamer2 Gamers, who didn't have the greatest game in game number 1. And I think that is also a little bit of concern, right? Again, as we mentioned, going into Miramar, where it is more about positioning. If you're struggling in a Erangle shifting zone that is more prominent about positioning, you then start to have these question marks, right? About, will they actually be able to perform in what was kind of a, now from a test to actually the real thing here, moving into game number 2? And I think if they just learn what their small mistakes were, just making sure that they're not getting caught out in these early game skirmishes, especially with their not as great loot as they might want to expect. Maybe they didn't quite get into the positioning they would have liked because they went out so early. I think if he play a little bit more patience, I think if he play a little bit more laid back and be wary of the positioning of their enemies around where they land, I think they could definitely end up with a better game.
Yeah, definitely. And look, of course, you know, nobody. I do feel for the teams in a situation where the circle is so far away from the playing path, right? So you're automatically asking for much tougher rotations from the majority of the teams. I do want a cleaner kind of, you know, playing to circle ratio, so the teams maybe feel a bit more freedom to play to their strengths, to explore their options, to somewhat explore their terrain, rather than, you know, when teams drop in, let's say, hypothetically speaking, Yasnaya as an example, and they see a military island, they're not thinking, you know, okay, let's loot up, we'll think about where we want to go. They're thinking, oh shit, we have to rotate to military island, right? And I know that's the RNG of the game. It can happen, but I do, you know, I feel that, right? I get that, you know, and I get how so I do hope that coming into this Miramar game, it is a bit more forgiving on the teams with the plane to circle balance.
Yeah, exactly. The plane path versus phase 1 in match 1 was pretty mean, and it was actually something we don't usually expect to see. We don't get to see too often with that much water, and especially that much shift down into the South Island. Particularly, you know, it's actually not on the western side that circle shifted, it was on the east, and, you know, as well as popular the west side and the north side of Erangle will be, east side, yes, it has some locations that team likes to drop in, but not as many as the other end of the game. So I think, especially as you mentioned, if we can start to see these kind of zones for these people moving into game number 2, and success, I have been able to get inside game number 2, so I will be with you for this one. Well, I know, right?
It's a small victories in life, my friend. It's a small victories in life, dude.
It is. We'll take them as we can get them.
Of course, as we're loading into the game, it's gonna be pretty exciting, and I'm just gonna turn this music down, so to speak, as we get into the game. But yeah, definitely, Miramar is always a different kind of beast, and I think there's something to be said for playing with confidence in Miramar compared to other maps. I feel that if you don't play with confidence in Miramar, you get punished maybe a little bit more easily compared to a map like Erangle or Vikendi, where you can be maybe a little bit more uncertain. You can use that the grass, the trees, the rocks to protect you. Whereas here, yeah, okay, there is those rocks, the dips, but you really need to be confident on how you play.
And that just comes with knowledge of the game as well. How much are these teams really practicing on Miramar? Because yes, Erangle is going to be that most dominant map that you'll get to see in terms of competition. But Miramar is super important, and Ev is super important as well going into competition status, because every map can be that difference that gets you into the next stage, so gets you those rewards, and particularly, as we mentioned, that $100 cash reward for these teams if they can make it all the way. But, you know, you mentioned this time path, ImPERium. Unfortunately, PUBG's gone a little bit rebellious this afternoon, and it's decided no ImPERium, no HighlandWolf. It's going to be down on Los Leones all day down to the south of Valdemar.
So disobedient. Maybe we just gave PUBG Mobile a little bit too much sugar this morning, and, you know, it's kind of it's acting a bit mischievous. It is definitely a very awkward playing path for a good few of these teams, in my opinion. Of course, hovering over Los Leones isn't going to be too bad, though.
Yeah. How many teams are going to drop right from Minas General, Vendit, and Los Leones? This kind of trio of areas together. And do see these hot drops from these teams. But I also am interested to see where this zone will go. If it's going to be that these teams have to make a harsh rotation north, or maybe, you know, PUBG will redeem itself. Maybe it will say, okay, we'll put the zone in the south end for you guys.
I'm just waiting for this phase 1 circle to pop up on toward. Okay, it's not bad. It's actually, it's really not bad. It's a bit south, it's quite central, but with a lot of teams heading up north from the southern playing path, we're already seeing a good few teams inside this phase 1.
Yeah, we do see the fights equally going on Picado and Graveyard, these two locations which were the hot drops. Interestingly, the Graveyard around that area is going to be a hot drop just by the nature of that playing path did force many more teams over towards it. But I think keeping an eye on Picado will be pretty important just to see ends up between both sides of 8R Esports.
Just to let you know, Highland, your mic is kind of cutting a little bit in and out, my friend. Just to let you know about that. Sorry about that, dude. But yeah, you're right. I'm hovering on towards this Picado area. As 8R Esports going up against Super Power for now, and the 8R Esports to get an early kill onto Super Power. And in turn, not only has that given them control this area man advantage, but I feel like as a whole terrain, it's kind of put them in a little bit of control. I am also seeing on the kill feed Tribe of Kings also picking up a fight, and Power Grid has Powerful. But so far, I think any kind of it was Minas Generalis that I think Tribe Kings got the better of. One team, if I'm not mistaken, that was gamer to gamer, so that's going to be one squad eliminated.
Yeah, unfortunately, we won't get to see gamer to gamers kind of redeem themselves, unfortunately. As we mentioned, they did get hot dropped once again.
Yeah.
They didn't have, I think, to really recuperate as a team. Despite actually, I think, on the side of Tribe of Kings, they were a little bit separated. You did have one of them over La Bendita in that crater. So I am surprised in a way that they did lose a 4 versus 3 situation. I would have liked to see how that ended up a little bit more. But I am keeping my eyes out in Picado, and it is a little bit interesting to see that 8R, they're kind of separating themselves a little bit round the side of it here to potentially take out Ibra, who has now backed off. I think they're starting to be aware of the repositioning here from 8R as they make their way around the backside of Picado.
Yeah, definitely keeping an eye here. I like the fact that 8R Esports are threading with caution. They're not moving through the middle of Picado. They're using the outer edge parts that generally has a bit more open terrain around it, and you're able to get possibly a little bit more information to their advantage. And I gotta say, on the other hand as well, Superpower, they're also being nicely passive, and they're respecting the fact that they did lose a player, right? And they're just kind of backing away and just doing what they can to loot up in this South Picado area. Maybe look to disengage. I think it is going to be important as we look at this phase on circle that either or both of these teams do disengage relatively early from this Picado city.
And also, I think particularly that disengage comes note for Devil, particularly has to make sure that he can find a way to recoup with his team. He is a little bit split with his 1-2 decision. You do see now Azus making their way forward, though. So this might not be an disengage, but more of an engage here ImPERium onto 8R, potentially trying to think that they can take him out while they're locked out in the casino area.
Yeah.
So that red zone will cut off any engagement further for the now time.
WSNE had Rio behind a rock doing a little bit of scouting, but Black Warriors spotted him out after a couple of shots, and they're now pushing and putting pressure onto Rio as a 3-man team, leaving Astora in the backline to have those suppressing fire shots. And this is great reaction from Black Warriors because, yeah, okay, early engagements are always risky, but there's something also to be said about being controlling of your terrain and your position inside the circle. And if you feel confident on pushing onto an opponent, I think that's very valuable as damage does the damage onto Rio. Confirmed kill by Zappa with the grenade. And now Don and Kemic. It's a matter of what can they do and less about if they will do it.
I really don't think that was really a smart decision, really. I think they did get caught out there. Unfortunately, 2-1 split. They did lose one. Rio realistically was never going to be able to hold off for them without a miracle comeback. And now that they are still split, keep in mind, Don and Kemek, if one of them gets knocked, they can't revive each other. They're still far apart enough in this open area that still the side of Black Warriors can take advantage of that. You see Zappa and Zappa making their way to different areas of the side of will be WSNE Esports here. Potentially Kemek there will be the first.
Oh, okay. So nicely done as Dom finds a knockdown onto Zappa, but Zappa confirms it onto Kemek, but this back peddling by Lord, and this is what WSNE kind of had to do to their advantage, was to suppress the members of Black Warriors enough for Lord to do the damage. Astora gets knocked down by Don. Don is looking to be the Corleone of his side. There's just going to be damage just left standing. Nice clean squad right coming out, and Black Warriors pay the price. And disregarding what WSNE could do.
Yeah, and you also see Lord there on the backside. Wasn't really able to engage so much in that fight into the later stages, but nevertheless did help to allow WSNE to take those 4 kills. And that's super important for them. They also were able to keep Kemek alive in that situation, because now they're staying alive with 3 members in. Also keep in mind around the central area of this zone, so we can obviously need to expect these teams to be rotating into them soon, especially if that zone later on starts to move towards the eastern coastline more. You see all these teams in the west side, that's where the action will be, and particularly look around at Ladrilera, as we will see the side of Lavar trying to assassinate that final member of Five Fire.
Modern Combat 5 fires on his own, but can he burn his opponents to the crisp? Maybe get some inspiration from Mortal Kombat 5 and create a fatality moment. Of course, he's going to take a little bit of damage. He's now down to under half health. Smoke's being thrown out that back line. Shots coming out from Akushi. He's going to suppress fire that a little bit more. Pre-fire shots are being fired up with that Scar L. Doing what he can to create a little bit of space inside this small building for himself. But in comes the Lavar players looking to push off. It's going to be a clean kill. Clean squad right. Lavar continue on in this game. They are outside the circle, but it's going to be 4 kills for themselves and another squad wiped to the floor.
And also keep an eye on his zone, still on the western side, where we do see, it looks like the side of KHK Esports will find out 1 rogue member of the side of Power Esports trying to recuperate to their team. So that now puts into question how MJRM will be able to make it towards their team, or if the duo will try recoup with him themselves. I think this will be to note, especially as we do see that zone shift around to the edge of Picardo still. That's going to be an important position for these teams to take control of. And these 4 teams around it, that could be the next really big fight that we start seeing off there. I also want take your eyes over to the eastern side and the south here, where we start to see teams rotating in round towards the edge of Los Leones and Impala. There could be fights happening as soon. But still, all these teams just repositioning with that zone, making sure that they can find an adequate position and not have to fight too early in this early stage of the game.
Jordanian squad, that 2-2 split by Jordanian squad on the east of Los Leones. It's good, but I feel like it's a bit too far apart from each other, right? They are seeming to be getting closer to each other, but I definitely feel that, I know it's only phase 2, but there's a little bit of a risk there. Again, if they feel confident about holding on to it, all power to them. And they are recognizing the fact that as the circles close in, as it does shrink, teams are going to get closer to each other. SNAKEsquad are going right through the fields, past and through the members of SK, holding on to this north side of Los Leones on the outskirts. SK is able to punish Prof. His knockdown is going to come through. Assad is going to try and suppress the members of SK while Prof tries to get any form of area safety under control. SK now out in the open fields. They have that kind of 2-2 split. with Boar on the high ground sightlines by the side of the road, looking for MP. Prones down and gets those fire shots off, and down goes another member of SNAKEsquad. They didn't see it coming, and that's what happens when you rotate to late SNAKEsquad.
Yep, we do have SNAKEsquad there also now in a little bit of a tricky position. I think Team
Big
SK
time.
really coming round them all different sides. You will see them start to drop here. Prof is also down, putting him down to 2 members. The first aid kit will come out from Assad, so that will allow him now to regroup potentially with Mario, but Mario needs to try hold off Last Hope and BDR here also moving down with them. You see the grenades also coming out from BDR to try hang off Assad, but it doesn't matter because Suleiman and behind them will assassinate him from the field to Last Hope and BDR. All we need to do is take down Mario inside.
It's me, Mario. Where's Luigi when you need him? No Spaghetti can help you in this situation, so he's on his own. Against some members of SK. It was great play coming out from SK as a team. Grenade gets the job done, and that is the end of SNAKEsquad. Really, really great play from Team SK. Like, the fact that they were so confident on that mix of low ground and high ground positioning with those grenades and the M4 shots, it was so well played, and they recognized that they had gotten a double knock. They had that spread. It was on the north of Los Leones. SNAKEsquad rotation was too deep, and they just paid the price.
But in this area around Los Leones, it's still not done yet. WSNE did catch a knockup onto Fanta with the side of Snap's rotation into the Los Leones area, so they are also in a little bit of a tricky position. They have to try regroup here to rescue their fallen comrade, and that will buy them unfortunately less time to get into where they want to be inside this zone. Also keep in mind a little bit of a wary rotation from Insane here. With an Insane rotation, they might just get themselves caught out here, adding way too far deep from the rest of the team.
We'll have to wait and see how that does play out for them. Jordanian squad going to be in front of them, along with, of course, the side of Team SK. SK don't really have too much information on them, but I think if Jordanian squad just edges closer from the outskirts of the warehouse that they hold on to, they might be able to find the shots on towards the members of Insane. But it is a trifecta fight going on here on towards the north eastern part of Los Leones as the blue zone is closing in. Next phase is going to be popping up. There's a surprisingly good chunk of area inside the northern part of this circle that is free to play around, where KHK have been able to take advantage of. Sorry, and my apologies, Team 14 are not Jordanian squad. My apologies, it's just for revenge. I did make that mistake. Jordanian squad up and towards the north side of Graveyard, but phase 3, the shift down the southwest, Los Leones in play. If there's one thing I can say to these teams, please, please, please do not rotate into the Los Leones city. Play on the very edge outskirts as you do look to find somewhere inside this circle.
But it's also a question of how do you rotate through, and we see that brave rotation coming out from Team SK immediately as this zone shifts, but they're going to dive straight into the hands of WSNE, and also keep in mind the side of KHK, so it's going to be a little bit of a tricky rotation here. You see multiple vehicles being used, but they should at least, I imagine, lose 1 or 2 members, even potentially with this Daredevil move over into the north side of Los Leones. There is realistically nowhere for these teams to go on the eastern side.
Okay, Highland. The reason why Team SK survived that rotation as a full squad is because they executed it extremely early, right? WSNE not prepared to retaliate. Snaps not really in a position / time to retaliate, and then they didn't get close enough to KHK to get caught out. It was absolutely perfectly executed by the side of Team SK, and they should be dutifully rewarded for that. It does create a little bit more space on the edge of the circle, which 963 has gone onto. We do see, just for revenge, going into the Los Leones city, where you do see the last member of Power Esports is looking to power his way through this game, hoping he doesn't get spotted right now. So we'll have to wait and see if that does come into play. But yeah, and then when you look on over, you have Insane holding on to the northern edge of the city, which I think is perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I also really am in awe right now at this side of Power here and Power Esports, just in between the members of Just for Revenge. It's going to be an interesting escape if he can try to find his kills, find his wipe on the remaining 3 members. But it will be a big feat nonetheless. Around the edge of the rest of this map, though, we will see a couple of teams moving in, particularly No 8 are coming down the north side of this zone onto Jordanian squad, the true Jordanian squad here, as they make their way through the red zone fight. This could be a little bit of an impactful fight here, especially in the open. These teams need to get inside of the zone. You see that falling short, unfortunately, handy to get knocked, and we also see Power also knocked, unfortunately, did receive the opposite end of that gun of the other side of Giave.
So KxQ, they had really done a great rotation on the southern side of Los Leones, but instead of doing it as a full team, they kept Quavid back, and they haven't really gone that far into the circle. So now they're under pressure by Tribe of Kings with the blue zone in play. The circle has shifted once again over onto western side outside the Los Leones, which is why I said don't go into Los Leones. And that, of course, is going to leave LeVar in a core position on the western side of this phase 4.
Yeah, and also I like that actually 8 are trying to find a way inside to the side of Jordanian squad, but I also admire the Jordanian squad. They're having none of it here in ImPERium. They're already rotating away. They don't realistically want to fight, but it actually does look like a little bit of reposition potentially, just while they allow the rest of these 2 members to escape out of the battlefield into the zone, because it is still a ways to go for another of these teams in the zone here now on phase 4. It's going to tickle the health bars of these players if they can't get inside it quick enough. And I'm also interested to see how particularly the side of Insane will do in the middle of all of these teams. It could be a potential death wish for him if they can't adequately take the charge between 2, 3 even teams coming at them.
We see Tribe of Kings get the squad up on the KxQ, and now they'll have a little bit more freedom to make their way into the circle on the southern side of this map. The side of Just for Revenge are opting to go on towards the south side of Los Leones, not going through the middle, which at least does make sense because they don't have that much information. The side of Nox 963 do have 2 members in towards the edge of Los Leones City, not as close to the edge as I would like to have seen, and there's so many of those warehouses which is in play on the center of the circle, which again, when you're coming from the city, you're going uphill to downhill, which puts you in a tricky position to move out there if you leave it too late. Whereas LeVar, they can take a bit more of their time. They can use that low ground to peek up towards those warehouses area and play around on the western edge of the circle. But I am bringing on over towards Just Revenge, as Tribe of Kings have rotated quite deeply. They've had 1 member, I believe, picked apart by Just for Revenge, so it's just going to be INDK and Levy left standing for their side as grenades are being thrown out by Just for Revenge, but nothing is connecting quite now. INDK is separated from Levy quite heavily, and we do see 8R Esports are getting punished by the members of KHK. I think that's going to be the end of 8R Esports on their late rotation. We also lose a member of WSNE outside the circle. Pre-grenade being fired up. Levy, don't go too close. The edge, that's going to be the end of Levy. He went too far away from the edge of that building. Couldn't use it to his advantage. And Madness and Felix just push in, leaving Tribe of Kings down to just 1 player. The circle shifting up north. LeVar reacting to that circle shift very effectively. Insane were one of the first teams to go on the edge of Los Leones area, and that has benefited them, overlooking multiple teams on the edge of this Leona City area, but there's so many teams around them on the outskirts. You got 963, you got Team SK, you got Tribe of Kings. No, you have not, because 380 YKA has eliminated the last remaining player, Tribe of Kings. Now Team SK gonna be using their information to go little by little across the way, across the wall, using that to their defense. But 963, they're not quite in the position, but that little bit of a third party with a cash knocking down a member of Team SK will put them under more pressure. Snappers inside this Leona's areas there yet to move in. We also see the side of KHK being on the outskirts inside the circle, very central part. They're facing this fight against LeVar, along with the last remaining player at Super Power Esports. Zeus is holding on for dear life. He was in the Leona City. Now he's on the outside. Now he's looking to face the bottom of the barrel that is his life, or possibly death. We'll have to wait and see as grenades are being fired up by Scareboy, not connecting onto Zeus. That one does connect, and he's going to be put down to a sliver of health. Is he going to find time to pick off a first aid kit? Yes, he is. He's back up to 75% health. But as he waits up and towards the outskirts, he could get third party because he is out in the open. This is really wasting so much time for KHK Esports, in my humble opinion. But now the final blow has been spotted out. Down goes Super Power Esports, and KHK can focus a little bit more on the other teams around them.
Well, that is going to be them out of game, but the other teams around them, they're all falling down to this blue zone. As a result, they didn't rotate in quick enough, and now we're going to have to fight each other. And we mentioned this about the side of Insane. They're now in between two squads outside of the zone in the open road here. It's going to be almost impossible for them to get back into the zone without losing at least one member, unless they can play the map rotations right. But I'm loving the rotation positioning out of also Just for Revenge and Jordanian squad on the south end, who are pretty much here ImPERium scot-free from all of the action to survive into the later stages of this game.
And I thought 8R Esports were down and out, but no, they were not. They do still have one member left standing. I apologize, Frank. I didn't see it quite there in the previous phases. 963 are pushing in, but they're getting punished by possibly Just for Revenge. We see Snap are going to get taken out by Ali. That's going to give a little bit more space to Insane. Team SK coming down the hill. They're going to get put under so much pressure. That's going to be the end of another player from them. Wanted is knocked down. It's going to be Sullivan left standing as 963 pick up the kills one by one. KHK Esports are going to be facing pressure themselves. Dominator nearly knocked down by the blue zone. Down he goes, LeVar taking advantage, but they are aware of the fact that if they go out by an inch away from their building, they are going to get punished by multiple angles. 6 teams, F17 players. Insane. Credit where credit is due. They've made their way outside the building, down the hills of Los Leones and closer to the edge of the circle. The next opponents in their sight is LeVar Esports. The circle has gone towards KHK. They survived. They strived. They are still up as a full squad.
But Insane, it found one squad wipe already. You see the smokes coming down onto LeVar, and this looks like the engage moment here.
Nice!
They have found enough, and this will be right. Alos and Sire in danger. 4 versus 3.
Wham bam, thank you, man. We've got the squad right in the palm of our hands. Nice Groza. Knockdown coming through, but Insane is going to get retaliated. Syed comes through. That's going to be another one. It's just a cash left standing, but the cash gets taken out. LeVar hold on to their position. Hold on to it by the skin of their teeth. The revives are going to come through. It was benefited by a bit of a third party by KHK Esports, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. LeVar, why are you sending Cry in there so quickly? Allow those revives to be pulled off. Allow your players to provide that level of backline support. KHK are taking advantage of this. They are on the edge of the circle. They are on the side of the road, and the circle stays in their favor. LeVar goes down. That's the game. That is KHK Esports coming out on top.
That zone was super super brutal to a couple of these teams towards the end, but KHK, they play the map right, they keep their compound towards the end of the game, and as a result just survive to the end. Unfortunately, none of the teams could realistically go out away from the zone because it was so open in that final phase 8 coming into the second game there. But nevertheless, KHK, they take the chicken dinner on top of that. So give himself 7, 8, 9, 10, 14 kills in total as well.
Yeah, no, really good game from KHK Esports. What did I say about Los Leones, though, right, HighlandWolf? It's a city that, like, you know, when the circle shifts away, you really want to avoid it. Yeah, if you're going to hold on to it, make sure it's the very edge. And credit to Insane Esports, I think they were one of the few teams that really kind of made that work in their favor. And part of that was because they were one of the first teams to go for that rotation on the edge of Los Leones, so they were able to at least build up a decent bit of information. The side of Team SK and 963, a little bit similar, but they kind of got caught by more angles because their side of Los Leones has more of a grasp of open area as you make your way down the hill. Even though it looks like you have more room to move around from, I feel it's actually a little bit trickier to defend yourself on. Plus, because Snap got taken out earlier on in that game, not earlier on, but earlier on when just before Insane had to move out by AR Esports, it meant there was just a little bit more time for and space for Insane to move down from that huge building.
Yeah, and I also think particularly KHK, they played the way they rotated smart as well. I actually am surprised that inside of JORDANIAN squad and Just for Revenge could have pulled out a little bit more, especially considering how they had the potential directly there to really impact KHK moving into the later stages of the game. But just as a result, them not having the building, only having a hill to hide behind and win that zone as it moved in, got rid of their hiding spot behind that hill, and while KHK still had their building in play, there was nowhere really for these final teams to survive. And I think nevertheless, so what really impressed me was LeVar actually standing ahead and shoulders above Insane, despite the fact they were put down on the back end, 3 versus 4, in that final fight. And I think that is credit also to Cry on the backside, as well as the final other member there who did be able to survive on the front line. So they used both the flank from Cry and their front line, particularly to separate the side of Insane, and as a result were able to nullify the potential damage that could come out from them.
Yeah, no, definitely, I really fully agree there, and it was, like, because that game kind of ended rather suddenly as well, right? It kind of ended a little bit kind of abruptly, and I think that was just off the back of just teams, you know, maybe at times not being able to handle it. Like, I'm surprised that nobody, you know, I think it was phase 5 or so, where those warehouses that LeVar probably could have controlled a bit more, they didn't do that, and you know, I think that could have given them a bit more information, because in those warehouses, in those kind of containers, they're able to peek and get information, in my opinion, a lot more effectively than hovering down on the low ground that they were. So maybe that's something that they can learn from. But look, you know, other than that, you know, it definitely wasn't the kind of worst game in the world. But I'm just gonna give out these results for everybody watching. KHK Esports coming out in first place with a juicy 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 kills. You had LeVar in second place getting 6, 7, 8, 9 kills. You had JR. It's JR is oh my god, it's Just for Revenge in third place with 3 kills. You had JORDANIAN squad in fourth place with 0 kills. You had Insane in fifth place with pretty decent kills. You had 8, 9, 10, 11 kills for them. Team SK in 6th with 5 kills. You had Team 963 in 7th with 2 kills. You had 8R Esports in 8th place with 3 kills. You had Snap in 9th place with 0 kills. You had Superpower Esports in 10th place with 0 kills. You had WSNE in 11th with 4 kills. You had Tribe of Kings in 12th with 325 to 7 kills. At KxQ in 13th with 1 kill. You had Power Esports in 14th with 1 kill. You had SNAKEsquad in 15th with 0 kills. Modern Combat 5 in 16th with 0 kills. Black Warriors in 17th with 1 kill. And Game to Gamers in 18th with 0 kills. And, you know, talking real quick about Game to Gamers, definitely sad that they weren't kind of given a bit more of an opportunity to maybe show us what they could do.
I really feel for them as a team. They must really be kicking themselves at the second game. That plane path really just wasn't on their side. They kind of got forced into a kind of hot drop, a little bit of a difficult position there. But I also think that if they really did want to survive, they could have just held on to the end of that plane path and dropped over in the western side of Miramar as well. I don't really know why they dropped so early on to the east side when you could have anticipated it because of the plane path. Teams would have wanted to go through the Los Leones La Bendita area.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But look, on that note, we're going to go for a bit of a break, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, but we will be back on your screens for Game 3. It's a final game for these 18 teams. It's a top 9 that will make it through to the finals, and then in a couple of hours after, there's going to be another 18 teams. I'm not going to be streaming, unfortunately, but of course, you can join the SNAKEsquad Discord server for full information on the results and how your teams that you are supporting have done. So on that note, we'll see you guys in all of about 3 minutes for the final game of the evening, heading over to Vikendi. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for the final game of this SNAKEsquad event with my boy HighlandWolf. I'm ImPERium. We're heading over to Vikendi.
Yeah, it will be the final map. Again, a little bit cold. And, you know, I can open the door. I can make it a little bit colder for myself as well. But nevertheless, you know,
By the way,
we'll be heading into a little bit of a colder area.
by the way, low key, like, you know, I know this, but everybody watching, if it wasn't obvious, this guy, this legend, this man, this myth, cast from inside his car. Like, if that's not dedication to casting, I don't know what is. I also feel it as somebody who's done something like that before. Hell, I have done it before. I've cast in a car, I've cast in a bus. I can feel that grind, man. So big credit to yourself for sure. But yeah, heading over into the Vikendi game. What are you thinking, hoping, expecting?
Memes aside, gamers to gamers, they have to show up here for the third
Fair.
game. They've had 2 last place finishes, so they're kind of front and center, I think, of this final game. But I'm also interested to see actually how Jordanian squad will do. They still had a very good result from game number 2, making their way into the final couple teams. And I also am interested to see how KHK will do moving around into the final game. Obviously, notably, they are these 2 teams. They've gotten the chicken dinner so far, so there will be expectations for them. And I think what we have seen more so in the final first game is rotations, and in the second game, more fighting, more towards teams just making their way into a good position to really get those grenades off, get those short-range fights in place. But in the third game, it could be any of those 2 situations, right? It could be we see a maybe south playing path again. We see a really north water zone on Vikendi. That is what Vikendi's known for. But we could also see more close-range fighting. So until we get into the game, it will be how these teams adapt to whichever style of fighting, which style of gameplay they need to be making note of.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. And I think with Vikendi, we do know that is in itself a different kind of beast. On a side note, with it being 3 games, I am happy with the fact that there's no Sandhawk, to be fair. Even though I like Sandhawk, yeah, I'm glad that he's not being featured. But yeah, with Vikendi, with it being a different beast, as much as compounds are quite important and quite strong, I think there is sometimes a little bit of too much of a reliance on those compounds where teams will, pun intended, freeze inside that compound and won't really think about either moving out or controlling the area around their compound, and then they get crushed apart in the next phases.
I like to think of Vikendi is almost like a collage of all 3 other maps together.
Okay.
You've got kind of the basis, right, of Erangle. You've got kind of the hills, you've got the terrain from Miramar, but you've also got the trees and the rocks from Sandhawk to hide around and make rotations through. And I think combining all the 3, but also with a little bit of flair, if you like, from the zones and the way they often go in Vikendi, it also has a bit of unique aspect to it as well. So I think with Vikendi, it's more about not just knowing how to play on one map, but knowing how to play on all 4 together. Or if you like all the other 3, to know how to play on the 4th one.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I can't help but agree with you there. But coming into this game, we've seen the playing path. It is down on the southwest side of this map. Again, not exactly pleasing to a lot of these teams. The good thing is that a team, if they do like to drop in the north, they can maybe choose to drop either on a second drop spot, or maybe they can drop a little bit more south of where they go, and then, you know, kind of rotate and loot as they get to their normal drop spot.
And you know my favorite spot I'd like this to go is it on the very east side. You've got those 2 little islands right on the edge of the map there. I would love that zone just to centralize right on that edge of the border.
Wow, you're toxic.
Just allow those teams just to really fight it out. And it's, you know, we've seen plenty of land action. What about some sea action, ImPERium? That's what we're missing in this game 3. That's what we're missing from these scrims tonight.
Well, your prayers is kind of being answered. It's about 50% phase on
I think
circle, but
that-
it's
because Modren.
yeah, it's quite up north, and once again, it's a bit of a pain in the ass for a lot of these teams. But yeah, I'm gonna instantly just kind of pan over this fight between the side of Insane and Black Warriors. We have seen Black Warriors lose Zappa with 1A, but Damage is further back. They just joined up with Ostora, Zappa, and Damage, so they don't have their full squad up, so it's going to be a lot harder. There's Damage left on his own for this Black Warrior side.
Yeah, and also note that actually the side of Insane, a 2-2 split between two different squads.
Fair.
You've got Just for Revenge with the side of the other side of their team. Not, you know, you've got Akash and ESC to deal with the side of Black Warriors. And I think they have done a good job so far, right? They've knocked down Zappa. They've got potentially now Damage as well if they can find him. They should be able to with a 2-1 advantage. I would assume so.
Yeah.
But I'm more concerned on the other end for Old Boy.
I agree.
Because that's where the worry really is for me. You've got only really 1-2 buildings separating these two members from the wrath of Just for Revenge. And I think the way they're moving Just for Revenge, they are being very aggressive. And I think if they can't recuperate as a 4-man squad, you could easily lose 2 members in the next 30 seconds.
Well, we have seen Black Warriors being eliminated, so the 2 members of Insane have that area clear, so now they can maybe focus on joining up with their teammates. They are going to trade blows, though, in this fight between Just for Revenge and Insane. Dennis gets knocked down, followed by Madness. Old Boy is going to be a little bit out in the open, but he finds a clean knockdown onto Apache. Now he's going to be looking to take on Felix. The jump shot team put it on through. Nice play, but it's going to be an even close shots. Nice by Old Boy. Very cleanly done. Oh my god, he tried to jump over the wall, but the support from Ali and Akash was going to be the reason why those 2 players as Insane will survive. And that's why it was so important 30 seconds ago that Insane close out that squad wipe on the Black Warriors.
That's what we're mentioning. They needed to get over there. They did just in time. Oh boy.
Wow.
Credit be to him. Really pulled off that miracle play. And I think so it single-handedly saved the side of Insane in the start of the third match here. That could have gone so south for them. But it started off with that 1-for-1 trade on the side of Denon, which was allowing Old Boy not to get flanked and allowed him to then take 2 members more before he got put down and had to get the help from the rest of his team. But you do see now a couple of these teams, they made these quick rotations into the zone, but still many more to go. And all of these teams on the south side, that's where it's going to get a little bit spicy, particularly also if we see that zone move towards the ocean even more, then we really start to worry about how these teams make it in from the south end.
Yeah, looking over towards Modern Combat 5, like they're on that kind of high ground open area that's on the little bit southeast side of the circle, and I think it's great for the early parts of the game, but the question is, it's just north of coal mine. The question is, as teams look to wrap around them, will they be able to control their position inside the circle? Right now they have 0 kills, which isn't really a bad thing, but we know coal mine is a tricky enough area to play around, so them moving a bit closer to the edge of the, not edge, but center of the circle, or moving to a position where they might be able to maybe do more with it, could work in their favor.
Well, they found a 1-for-1 trade right now, but it will be 2 going down for MC5. You know, Modern Combat 5, they really are a bit more aggressive than I think they should have been. They kind of paid for it, not really understanding that there were teams potentially in front of them. And as a result, we will lose 2 members for it. But Meral and Thron, if they can get closer to the side of Fire just a little bit quicker, potentially Bentley can catch out the side of Snap if they get too aggressive.
But Snap does have a potential back player in the world with the flank coming out from Vid. We'll have to wait and see what he can do with that. He finds the shots onto ImPERium. It is important that Vid doesn't overextend, that he doesn't over peak his position, that he allows himself to simply distract Modern Combat 5 so Snap can make their way up the hill to really put more pressure on towards the two-man team of Modern Combat.
But note also that the fact that Fire wasn't flushed out was he was able to provide the vision of where Snap could potentially be going. So that allowed the knowledge that Meryl and Thon could then 2 versus 1 onto Viz. But because Fire isn't there anymore, because he will be finally going down in this game, now are vulnerable to that backside flank, right? And you see Nick and Phantom making those rotations as you see the second member of Fire there go down. So it could be a little bit dangerous. They could be caught in between the triangle of Snap.
So you could say Modern Combat 5 are stuck between a rock and a hard space right now. With
in a hard space, man.
Yeah, definitely. I like the fact that Nick is wrapping around the side, realizing that he couldn't really do too much, so he has to try and find that flank. Fron gets knocked down. Merle does indeed get knocked down by Vid, and that's going to be a clean squad. Nicely executed by Snap, I do have to say so myself.
Yeah, I think it was also as a result because Modern Combat 5 was super good.
Fair.
They lost half their squad. I think they were on the back foot and realistically had a really difficult time to get out of that fight from the start of it. But no, on the outside, we do see a little bit of a race into the zone from both Tribe and the side of Insane. Potentially they might stop as Tribe did get caught out though. 2-2 split Levi and Gangster. They could be vulnerable if Insane could catch him. But I do think they'll get away from this one.
Yeah, they should get away from this one. Looking over on towards the eastern side, we've Super Power Esports. They're going to be on the high ground overlooking Cosmodrome. I think that's a great location in this phase 1 because, again, it's a bit compoundish, but it's also very high up. So it gives them a decent bit of information, right? And with Jordanian squad in front of them and phase 2 cropping up soon enough, I think Superpower, if they play this area right, could really set themselves up for a strong finish. I do worry about Devil maybe being too out in the open, though.
I do quite like their positioning also in terms of where the map in the zone is going, right? They're on the western side, which is potentially where teams will be looking to try to rotate through. And you see that actually coming out, unfortunately, from a couple of squads already inside the zone, a little bit of fighting. But I do want to mention before his fight comes off, we had to note the side of Levant and SK potentially moving on the west side. We could see that be in favor of Superpower, but it does look like Jordanian squad, they're struggling.
They're kind of struggling. They were able to get a couple of kills onto the members of KHK, so that was good, and that revive has been pulled off, so they are still a full squad. And that was a little bit off of the back of Superpower kind of pushing them forward, but now Starboy does find Federal. That's going to be a confirmed kill. Now Jordanian squad are under pressure. They're down to 3 players.
What I talked about.
Yeah.
It's not the immediate scare from KHK, but it's a scare coming out from the hillside that you mentioned, these flanks. And you do see Krona knocked, and now that Hamady's the only one alive, there you assume Jordanian squad not long for this world.
Hamodi, what can he do inside this building? Not much. He's going to be stuck inside the bathroom, and Starboy does find him. They're always inside the bathroom, HighlandWolf. They're always inside the bathroom, but now a little bit of a third-party opportunity, a little bit of a potential moment for Superpower to strike with the X-ray vision, so to speak, the Superman push onto KHK Esports. We'll have to wait and see. They're being a little bit cautious with it for now. Devil is going to be flanking around, possibly looking for Dominator. The shots are being sprayed through, but Dominator is going to survive by the skin of his teeth around the side of the building. But now as Devil makes his way forward, he knows he's able to knock off it. First aid kit and get that knockdown on the Devil. Confirm that kill. Sticking around on towards the side of that building. Dominator, he is doing so much work for the KHK side right now, as Azuz is going to be on his own by the side of that wall. You do still have Ibra. Ibra does indeed need to get involved in this fight, But it is going to be Azuz. He's going to get knocked down by Starboy. Starboy will finally get punished by Ibra. But is this too little, too late for Superpower? Is this going to be Dominator looking to dominate this team fight? There's going to be look to push out. It's going to be that pre-fire shots coming through. But Ibra comes in clutch and takes down KHK Esports, the winners of the Game 2. Have been eliminated early in Game 3.
Yeah, it feels almost a little bit deja vu here, down to one member off of an early fight here. Only still keep in mind 12 minutes in the game, despite how insane this zone still looks. It will be a question of if it continues to be as insane as it could be with all of this ocean still in play. A couple of these final teams making their way inside the zone, notably Insane and also Team SK making their way in from the western side.
Yeah.
But now that we see these teams be flushed out around Cosmodrome, there is more space, and that allows teams such as, I particularly think, the side of Jordanian squad to try find a little bit of a reposition. Bonjour, they need to try and make sure that they're in the right position in Cosmodrome as a sole member to get those 1 versus 4 situations, because they're not in a spot where they can just hide.
Yeah, and we do see the circle shifting once again towards the coastline, and I was thinking, are Power Esports maybe going a bit too close to the coastline, right? Are they committing too much to that coastline finish? And as these circles shift up, I'm kind of thinking, maybe not. Maybe they are pulling off that big brain rotation, and they are setting themselves up for a clean finish. Now, of course, more space has been created on that side of the circle because we've had a few squads go down, so it is a lot easier for the likes of SNAKEsquad, Team SK, and KxQ.
And also note that actually the 963, they've taken control of where Superpower's position
That's
was
true.
on this hillside, which smart decision. They're going to be able to keep an eye on the positioning of both Snake and SK as they make their way in from the west side, as we mentioned. Also keep in mind, coming from the west is KxQ Esports, so 4 teams there on the western side, but still, look at this aggressive rotation from Tribe, also north side to Power. There's 2 different fights going on at the same time here.
Oh my lord, it's all gonna kick off as SNAKEsquad are gonna come cropping towards the members of Team SK. SK out the sidelines, but a nice flank position by Mario, but of course last hope is going to find Mario, so it's going to be return fire. It's an even trade-off coming through as Boar finds a knockdown on the Prof. And behind a rock, you have Masawi doing what he can to try and put the pressure on towards Team SK. Assad is left somewhat on his own across the way. He does have a little bit of space to play around, and he could possibly get the revive on the Mario, but is this a 963 third party coming through? They seem to make their way forward.
Yeah, and I think this could be, unfortunately, a downfall of the side of Snake, right? You see them now, they were split away, they're getting knocked, and because they got 1 knock on either side, it put them down to just 1 member each on either side, which then meant that they had both weak potential areas and flaws in their aggression. Yes, it's smart to split. Yes, it's smart to pull off those surprise angles onto enemies. But if it doesn't work out like it has just now, it really falls flat. Thankfully, Mario was able to be revived, so it is still going to be a 2 versus 3 situation. And 2 on 2 is Sullyman and 1 to the only 1 versus them here.
And one thing that I really question as you see once again this fight kicking off between Team SK and the side of SNAKEsquad is going to come down to Assad. Assad is doing everything he can, and he eliminates another member of Team SK, and it's Wanted left on his own. Is this more than he wanted? Is this more than he bargained for? Is this more than SNAKEsquad bargained for? As 963 are also looking to come in, and they instantly take out the side of SNAKEsquad. 963 finding the opportunity, finding the moments to strike. Now Wanted makes his way across the road. He's going to be on his own. The last player standing goes up and towards the high ground of that tiny little shack. Maybe looking for that member. Snakes is 963. Molotov is being thrown out. Wanted using the Tommy gun. But that is it. That's going to be immortal. Becoming immortal for the side of 963, and it's another squad wipe, another kill in their favor. And you know, if there's one thing that I think Team SK made a mistake with, was when that member of SNAKEsquad got knocked by 963 behind a rock. Boar from Team SK went to that same position. And what happened? He ended up getting knocked by 963. I don't know why he went there.
Yeah, I think that really did cost him. I do feel so much for the side of that fight in for Snake. Really.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they just got backdoored essentially by 963. But 963, they've still got a little bit of a tricky route around in this zone. They still have potentially a flank themselves from the side of KxQ Esports. They both have a ways to move in this zone, as it will shortly be going into phase number 5 here. But the action is all around this mountainside, where Tribe, they made a name for themselves in this third game. They've made a little bit of a statement on top of this hill, which I really like. They've also got a compound here in this very flat open area towards them, so you could easily catch teams unaware and rotating through to the coastline.
They've already kind of caught out a member of Insane, which I think is good because that's going to suppress Insane a little bit and create a bit more space and control for Tribe of Kings, and I really like that. But now as the circle does shift down south, that question of Power Esports may be committing too much of the coastline. Is that going to be answered? Will they be able to make their way from that coastline up the hill, or have Tribe gained too much control? They are starting to send a couple of their players up inside that vehicle to the side of the mountain. They are utilizing the edge of that phase on the rotation, which I absolutely love. It means that they are pretty confident of their terrain and what they know and the information they have, and hey, they're making it work.
Yeah, it is going to be a tricky summit vote up to the top of this mountainside to meet Tribe potentially towards the end of the game. I'm also interested to see how the rest of these teams really do, particularly some of the solos. Keep in mind,
yeah, true.
And Bonjour still alive, so they could make an upset as that third party. We do have to keep an eye on all forces in the final stages of this game, but it is very open, this final zone, so these teams really will need to utilize the roofs, utilize the buildings, but also the smokes and the cars, once again, as we always need to mention on these open zones.
And there's not really a flat area inside the circle. You know, there's a few kind of flat areas, but it's really either uphill or downhill, right? There's that consistent curve across the terrain, and I know that's more normal in Vikendi, but in this area, it's definitely trickier to play around. Now, we did see a member of 963 lose their life. I think it was at the hands of Power Esports or Tribe of Kings. I don't know exactly what happened.
Yeah,
what?
So KxQ, they just called them
KxQ.
on one side, and they basically just deleted them straight away, which is super smart to do. They took 2 members to do it, but they do find them from the long range, and that really puts 963 in a really unfortunate position, but they do find a knock-up, but albeit it's not going to be for much unless they can finish it off, like we saw KxQ do to 963 just minutes ago. And I think potentially I'm surprised that look at that, a second knock-up, and I'm surprised that none of these two squads, KxQ or Power, are going into 963 to finish him off.
Well, I know Power has a player knocked down, so that might stop them, but for KxQ, I definitely agree with you, although they aren't fully together as a full squad, so I kind of get why they don't feel in a position to push on towards the members of 963. Another knockdown being pulled on towards the members of Power Esports, but once again, Mortal gets knocked down by 963. The confirmed kill is going to come out, so Power are going to be down to 3 players. Time's ticking down, 25 seconds until the blue zone starts closing in, and Power Esports will have to react to their position. They will have to make their way inside the circle. They do still have the vehicle to play with, but then again, on the other side of this circle, we have the team that are in the very dead center of this phase. Tribe of Kings have pushed back and suppressed the members of WSNE, and even though one of their players got knocked, the revive has been pulled off, and they're still a full squad.
Well, WSNE, though, they do have a little bit of a tricky position right now. KxQ, they've also moved to the flank side of them. They've got potentially Bonjour and Ibra is those 2 solos to contend with as well. So they will be a little bit of a tricky rotation. I am actually impressed with 963, though. They're really putting the work against Power. Second knock-up here, denying the rotation around the edge.
Wow, those smokes aren't helping you too much, my power friends. And it's Hellcourt that's left standing. So maybe they left a little bit too late to come in on the edge of this circle in the previous phase. Maybe that coastal line push a few phases ago really is the antithesis of them going down. Many questions can't really be answered. All they can do is do what they can to try and hold on for dear life as the Blue Zone's closing in. KxQ are going to start to get punished by WSNE, but they have returned that knock on towards Chemic, as Rio's going to be looking in towards that back line. He's going to get inside the Zima and go towards his teammate, which is very risky because that Zima doesn't usually have too much life in its back pocket that it can survive with. And I think kind of he realizes that, and he is going to get further away from the KxQ side.
Yeah, I think it also is very wary, and I'm surprised the Tribe haven't been more punishing of these rotations, right, coming out of these two squads. They have been starting to be knocked down. And I think we also need to note they're also a team that we wanted to see more out of. Gamer 2 Gamers are also in this final zone. They're also inside the zone as well. But just like that, we see the drops come in, wasn't it? And also Power lose their members.
Yeah, now we're down to 16, 15 players. Once again, Tribe are inside this circle. It is on the south edge rather than the center this time. But again, they've done enough where they're a full squad. They had a crate come into their favor. And of course, they're going to use that full level 3 utility to their advantage. WSNE, they have a bit of a distance to go. They're not really focused on KxQ. They are focused on towards the members of Insane. But Insane finds Rio. That's going to be the first knockdown. Game 2 Gamers, we haven't talked about them, but they're surviving until phase 7, and they still have 2 players up.
They finally find a break from the early game, and they use it to their advantage, and they survive to 24 minutes. A little bit longer than the 2 minutes they lasted in the first 2 games, but Insane potentially will try to contest this, finish them off. You see Old Boys splitting up, and we know how impactful Insane can be when put in danger.
Rio sends himself up with that Zima, but do they know that Tribe of Kings are there? No, they don't. KxQ are going for that push, but it's a little bit too separated. Tribe of Kings are surrounding so much pressure, but they are dealing with it expertly. Another knockdown onto Ovid, another kill. Becky is now the last player standing for KxQ. You do still have 963 up with 1 player. Levy is inside that front line, closer to the edge of the circle. It has gone in the favor of 963, the remaining player left standing, Amza, holding on for dear life, but Levy finds Hamza, and that's going to be the end of 963. Tribe of Kings continue to be the tribes, the kings of this Vikendi game.
And Tribe, they just waited patiently with their expert rotation moving into these final zones. And it will be Old Boy also put into the solo fight here, with also Game to Gamers still alive here. Keep inside KxQ though, QX here, still alive. So there is 3 members versus 4 Tribe. They could potentially swing just like that against him.
Oh, shots are being fired by Gamer Gamers. Connects on the hammer. That's going to be a knockdown. But is it going to be enough? Is he going to confirm the kill? He has alerted everybody else to his surroundings. Old Boy did try and take a couple of shots on towards headshot, which is why he prone down behind that rock. That knockdown has yet to be confirmed. Tribe of Kings at least know the location of one of these players. Gangster takes down Becky. That's going to come down to a 4v1v1. Well, 3v1 because it hasn't been revived up. Levy and Gangster doing everything they can to suppress the remaining 2 players of this lobby. Old Boy is going to take that blue zone damage. Headshots under so much pressure. It's going to be down to a sliver of health. Down goes Old Boy. It's going to be a 3v1. And Tribe of Kings with Gangster gets the final blow. The killer shot. The opening, the winning, the ending. And that's Tribe of Kings claiming this chicken dinner.
The Tribe, they had the positioning, they had the game in their pockets from the moment they set foot in that compound. No team really wanted to go up against them. As a result, they all got punished for being not as aggressive as they needed to be WSNE to KQX to then the side of Game to Gamers 963 towards the end as well. And note also, importantly, for the side of Insane, they struggled because the side of WSNE, they took down what was a cache moments before they died to the blue zone, and that put Old Boy down to the solo himself, and then as a result they couldn't really put any pressure onto Tribe with 3 single members in each of those remaining teams.
And you know, as much as Tribe did a great job, which they did, let's be aware of the fact that they benefited from not really being up against any full squads at the end, right? You know, all throughout their... And that was a product of them having a core position in the circle. Let's be fair about that, right? Exactly. Because so many other teams were playing on the edge, so they were kind of picking each other off. But again, it kind of came down to the only team that I felt like were going to... I think it was Phase 4. The only team that I felt were going to put Tribal Kings under a lot of pressure was Power Esports. But because they opted, even though I liked the fact that they stayed on, that they did rotate on the edge of circle, it was too much on the edge, and the 963, their position really kind of allowed Tribal Kings to have way more freedom on one area around them so they could focus on other areas, and it was just a little bit of a chain reaction where even KxQ weren't proactive enough on the likes of Power Esports or 963, and we saw them kind of picking each other off one by one.
Yeah, and I think also note as well, as you mentioned, that zone did shift away from the ocean side. Yeah. I think had that zone moved towards the ocean even more, then Tribe would have had a little bit of a trickier way into the final stages of the zone along the coastline, making their way downhill against Game to Gamers and also Power. But I do agree with you so much. It was the zone that really gave them that chicken dinner, especially towards the final couple moments, just edging away from the single members, edging away from the rest of these teams. But albeit, keep in mind, it was these other teams that didn't decide to go for Tribe. It was actually, they decided to take out each other. And I think as a result, you know, Tribe said, you know, let yourselves kill each off. And then we'll just take the chicken dinner for free.
Yeah, definitely, and it was also a little bit of the product of the terrain that the teams were kind of ending up in. As I said, you know, it was a very much a kind of a... There's no flat area, really. It was kind of very much kind of up and downhill. And again, Vikendi is known for that, but here more than ever, it was very tricky because, you know... Yeah, just teams that were on the edge were kind of downhill and kind of in that awkward position. I did think at one point Insane could have been a bit more impactful, but maybe they took kind of too many fights. Same with WSNE. It was one of those things where just teams looked like they had that potential, but the execution was just falling flat on their side. But anyway, I'm going to, of course, spell out the results from this game. Tribal Kings coming in first place, getting 9 kills for their side. Be Game to Gamer, second place for Game to Gamers, right? They stayed passive on the north, and they were rewarded with a solid position result. No kills, but still better than what we saw in the first 2 games. And hey, glass is half full, am I right? HighlandWolf, we then had an Insane. We then had an Insane in third place with 8 kills. We had KxQ in fourth place with 2 kills. We had 963 in fifth place with 7 kills. We had WSNE in 6th with 6 kills. We had Power Esports in 7th with 3 kills. We had Super Power Esports in 8th place with 3 kills. And 9th place was Jordanian Squad with 3 kills. Do you want to read off the rest? If you have it open.
Okay, Jordanian Squad with 3 kills. Next in 10th position, we've got Team SK. 11th is Snake. 12th, we've got Snap. 13th, KHK. 14th will be Levar. 15th will be Modern Combat 5. 16th will be Just for Revenge. And the final bringing up to the rear, unfortunately, that fight went a little bit bad. Black Warriors in 17th.
Oh my lord, so that is going to spell the end of the first part of this SNAKEsquad event. As we saw, we had 18 teams or so facing up against each other in these 3 teams. The top 9 teams, after all the points are added up, will move on to the finals. The second part of the stream, the second 18 teams are going to be on another page. Again, if you want to get all the up-to-date information, I am going to put in chat a link to the sorry, as I look to find the right page, a link to the SNAKEsquad Discord server, which I'm going to put in chat, which you can join the server if you're not already on it, and find out up-to-date information on when the next stream is going to be happening. I do want to thank the one and only HighlandWolf for once again joining me to cast these games. It's a pleasure as always. Sorry you missed game 1, but these things do happen.
It sucks, but it happens, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I get attacked.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. I'm better now.
Where can people find you? Where can people find you?
The best place to find me is on Twitter. You know, as usual, HighlandWolf _ is my @handle.
Awesome.
So check me out check you out as well, ImPERium. Where can
Of course.
you on Twitter?
Of course, you can find me on Twitter at EV2_ImPERium, Instagram at EV2_ImPERium. Please don't forget, if you like the stream, if you like what you see, always feel free to give me a subscribe. Hit that notification bell, maybe even a like on the video. It doesn't hurt. It's not. I don't expect much. I don't mind if you don't like it. It's all good in the hood. But either way, thank you very much for tuning in for these scrims. And we'll see you guys another day, another evening, another night.